Hello, Seiiti Arata. So there is the idea that the best way to learn how to do anything is simply by doing it. It is not reading about it, it is not watching videos about it is not speaking about how to do it. So if you want to learn how to invest in the stock market, the best way to learn is actually investing in the stock market. If you want to learn how to cook, the best way to learn is cooking. And if you want to learn how to speak Spanish, the best way to do it is speaking in Spanish. That is why the most powerful technique that you can use to learn any language is by immersion. There are many cases of people who have spent years studying a language in a classroom and it didn't really advance a lot. But there are also other people who do like a 6-month program, a language exchange in a foreign country, and they learn much more because they are immersed in the language. Of course, there are also those who do an exchange, that they only make friends with people from their home country, and obviously they don't learn anything. But that is a topic for another day. For a long time, living abroad was the only way you could do an immersion. You needed to have the financial conditions to be able to spend at least 6 months or a full year in a country where your target language was spoken at. But nowadays, immersion is not only exclusive of financially privileged people. You can start your immersion right now without leaving your home and spending very little. Immersion works because the only way to really learn a language is practicing it in real life. Being immersed in a language means that you will experience that language 24 hours a day or the longest time possible. And when you travel to a foreign country, immersion happens almost automatically. Imagine, for example, you're going to live in Spain for 6 months. People there on the street, they will speak in Spanish. TV shows, radio programs, they're all in Spanish. Books are all in Spanish. If you want to buy food in the market or get medicine from the pharmacy or just ask for directions on the street, you will have to speak Spanish. So, since Spanish is around you everywhere, 24 hours a day, your learning speed is much faster than it would take someone being studying there at home 3 hours per week in a private language school. In just one day, you're going to have 5 times as much contact with Spanish language than any other person who goes to Spanish classes just in 1 week. Now, if you cannot just leave and go to another country where your target language is spoken, you will need to do a simulated immersion. Simulated immersion consists in surrounding yourself by the language that you want to learn and keeping contact with that language for as long as possible. Maybe you can't travel to Spain and spend 6 months over there learning Spanish, but you can simulate you're in Spain right now. How? By changing as many things as you can in your life into Spanish. You can start by changing to Spanish the default language of your phone, your computer, your email account. You can create new social media profiles and start following only people who speak Spanish on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook. You can choose to only subscribe to YouTube channels and podcasts and blogs that are in Spanish. You can watch films and series and TV programs and read books only in Spanish. Until recently, all of that was very difficult, but today, thanks to the internet, there is a great amount of options that allow you to do a simulated immersion in any widely spoken language in the world. That does not mean that you need to leave aside your language course or your formal studies, but you need to see that study time as a complement to your practice. Listen, what will make you actually learn a language is to practice that language in real life. And when I say real life, I mean the materials that you use for your immersed experience, your simulated immersion, they have to be average materials. They have to be made by the native speakers of that language. The reason is that this is very different. This is real content. It's different from teaching materials like basic books and podcasts that speak so slowly to help you to learn, or movies with subtitles. Before the immersion, you need to have a basic knowledge of the language. It is no use wanting to run before knowing how to walk. In order for the immersion to work, you should have been in touch with the foundations of the language for a few months previously. If you know absolutely nothing of a language, when you're trying there to watch films or read books or listen to podcasts, well, that won't be very helpful. And what can you do to attain that knowledge? Well, in our course, How to Speak Languages, I show you a quite different method that you can get to know at arata.se/speak languages. But if you follow the more traditional way to learn the basics of a language, you can resort to courses and easy books that are focused on learning. And these materials will teach you basic words, simple terms. There will be people who speak very slowly, everything with the ideal conditions for you to learn. But unfortunately, these will not be the same conditions that you will find in real life. When you are on the street in a foreign country, people will speak fast. They will use slang, they'll have different accents, and sometimes yes, they will even make some mistakes. So that is why a lot of people get scared when they're trying to understand everything in their Spanish class, but actually when they go to Spain, they travel, they don't understand anything when they need to speak Spanish in real life. To really become fluent in a foreign language, you need to understand and speak with people in real life. And a good way to test yourself is to listen to a news broadcaster in the language that you want to learn. You can find radio stations in Spanish, in French, German, or any other language that you want to learn, and just start listening. I'm here speaking about actual news stations, those that provide the listeners with information, they give interviews, they talk about, the traffic and things like that. I'm not talking about podcasts in which the guests speak slowly in a very fancy studio with good acoustics. Radio stations oftentimes have noises from the street when the newscaster is speaking on location. They have calls with listeners, and then you can listen to real people, native people speaking. To reach the level in which you understand the language spoken in that way, you need a few hours, a lot of hours of practice. Consider spending at least 2 years of practice listening to the language that you want to learn for about half an hour every day. And in order for you to have that kind of consistency in the long term, the secret is to match the content that you consume in your target language to the things that you enjoy. Consume contents that you find interesting so that your immersion stays consistent. In simulated immersion, you need to be in touch with your target language for as long as possible. And the secret to do this is to include activities that you like, that you are interested in, and that you are already used to doing. For example, imagine that you currently spend a good amount of time on Instagram, but you can keep on doing the same thing, but instead of following the profiles that you are already subscribed to now, you have to start following new profiles in the target language that you want to learn. You have to follow celebrities that you admire, companies, organizations that you're interested in, profiles related to the things that you like. The same way, if you like watching films or series, you can start watching them only in the language that you want to learn. At first, you can even use subtitles in the same target language, but that is as if you were using training wheels to learn how to ride a bike. As soon as you get confidence, remove the training wheels or you will never actually learn how to cycle for real. Remember the beginning of our conversation. Understand that the best way to learn how to watch films without subtitles is watching films without subtitles. A good piece of advice to make that transition and stop using subtitles altogether is to watch films or series that you have already watched, but this time in your target language and without subtitles. Since you already know the plot, understanding what is being said will become much easier. If what you like to do is reading books, start reading only in the language that you're learning. Some time ago, buying an imported book was a lot of time, it was very expensive because of the international shipping costs. But now that we have ebooks, you can find whatever book you want and download it in a couple of seconds. If you prefer to read news, you can change your national news portal to another one in the language that you're learning. The ideal thing is to always start practicing your listening and your reading, but you can practice your speaking and your writing as well. As I said in episode number 195 of Hello, Seiiti Arata series, you can be using conversation apps to communicate with native speakers. And you can also use chats and emails and even create a blog to practice your writing if that's your goal. Also, remember to use your idle time to listen to podcasts or radio programs in your chosen language. Just the time that you spend going to and from work. doing physical exercises, or even washing the dishes, that's probably more than an hour per day in contact with the language. A tip is to always have a news station app installed on your phone, and in this way you don't need to be thinking about what video or podcast you will have to find when you want to take advantage of the idle time to listen to your target language. All it takes is opening the app and the radio will start playing, speaking already in your target language in a real way. Regardless of what you want to do, the important thing is to always stay in touch with your target language for as long as possible. Progression at first seems slow, but your brain gets used to it little by little and learns in an almost exponential way. So after a while, you will notice an incredible leap in your learning. Immersion is the most powerful technique to learn foreign languages because it is the only one that gets you in touch with the spoken language in real life without the tricks used in language courses and teaching books. But that is not the only technique. There are several other tricks that you can use to speed up your learning. I'll show you those advanced techniques in a course, How to Speak Languages, that you can access at arata.se/speak languages.